So, what if I told you that the richest person in Africa actually built his entire fortune on the back of a colossal failure? A $10 billion failure, to be exact. Today, we're going to unpack the incredible story of Aliko Dangote and, the one crucial lesson he learned from losing it all. See, to really get how Aliko Dangote built his empire, you first have to understand the failures, the ones that almost ended everything before it even began. It's really a masterclass in turning a complete dead end into a launching pad. His journey starts out, pretty standard for an entrepreneur, with a loan and a plan. He decided to jump into commodity trading, and he started with one of the most basic goods you can possibly imagine: sugar. And, well, it was a total disaster. The market was all over the place, the profit margins were razor thin, and his whole plan, it just didn't work. For most people, right then and there, that would have been game over. But Dangote, he wasn't done. Not even close. He pivoted, right? Shifted his focus to another staple food, rice. And, you won't believe it, he failed again. I mean, think about that. 2 huge ventures, 2 complete wipeouts. That's 2 strikes. And yet, this is where the story gets absolutely wild. After those back-to-back crushing failures, Aliko Dangote's net worth today is over $10 billion. That makes him the wealthiest person in all of Africa. So you gotta ask, how does that even happen? How do you go from 2 failed businesses to building the single largest fortune on an entire continent? The answer isn't as simple as just, oh, he tried harder. No, it was about completely reinventing his entire strategy. And to find that answer, we've got to go back. All the way back to 1977 in Kano, Nigeria. This is where it all started. Now, he didn't come from some super wealthy family. His start was a 500,000 naira loan from his uncle. And look, that was a huge amount of money back then. With that cash, he set up a small shop, trading those basic goods: sugar, cement, rice. Okay, so his strategy from day one was super simple, but incredibly powerful. You see, while his competitors were out there buying fancy cars and houses with their profits, Dangote was just relentlessly disciplined. Every single naira he made, it went straight back into the business, just fueling the slow but very steady growth. But that steady growth, it was about to hit a massive wall. A crisis was brewing, and it was going to force him to make a decision that would either, completely ruin him or redefine his entire future. So here's the problem. The whole import model that he'd built his business on, it was starting to fall apart. International shipping costs were just going through the roof, squeezing his profit margins down to basically nothing. All around him, his competitors were bleeding money and shutting down, one by one. And on top of that, he was surrounded by doubters. The common thinking in Nigeria at the time was crystal clear. You just can't compete with foreign brands. People were literally telling him he was crazy to even think about producing stuff locally. They said he'd get absolutely crushed by the big international companies. So this brought him to a huge crossroads. He really had 2 choices. He could stick with the importing business, which was clearly dying, and just fight for the scraps, or he could take this enormous, terrifying gamble, become a manufacturer himself. And that meant betting the entire company on building factories. It was a path with just insane risk, but it also offered total control, and maybe, just maybe, the chance to dominate the whole market. He chose the risk, and that one single decision, it didn't just change his business. It ended up reshaping the industrial landscape of an entire continent. And the result of that bet, it was just staggering. He built his very first manufacturing plant in 1992. Get this. By 2007, only 15 years later, Dangote Cement was the largest cement producer in all of Africa. He didn't just compete with those foreign brands he was warned about, he absolutely crushed them. And the scale of this success is hard to wrap your head around. Today, the Dangote Group is this massive employer, providing jobs for over 30,000 people all across the African continent. But his impact goes way beyond just the jobs. He built an industrial empire that provides the literal building blocks, we're talking cement here, for entire cities. And more recently, he's built a refinery that's so massive, it could potentially power a whole nation. This isn't just business, this is nation-building stuff. So when you really strip it all back, From those early, painful failures all the way to continental dominance, what's the one core lesson we can take from Aliko Dangote's incredible journey? Well, it's this. The biggest rewards don't come from just taking any old risk. They come from taking the right one. See, Dangote's genius wasn't just that he was brave. It was that he could see a future where local production wasn't just a possibility, but an absolute necessity. And then he bet everything on that vision when absolutely nobody else would. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty challenging question for ourselves, doesn't it? When you look at his journey from a failed trader to a builder of nations, it kind of forces you to look at your own life and ask, what's the big, maybe even terrifying, legacy-defining risk that you're avoiding?